So I'm starting that recording right now. So we will be posting it up on our website later this week so that those who want to review it again or did not have a chance to meet with us today, they can view it. So what brings me to Central Oregon Disability Support Network is my oldest son, Christian. He's 24 and he lives outside of our home with 4 other people. And Christian graduated high school with a extended diploma in 2014 and had at that point some really specific goals in mind, and we talked a lot about what his vision for the future was. And I come to you today as Christian's advocate and his mom, and he loves when I share about him and the job that he had prior to COVID at Providence Park and the Motor Center, where he was working when the soccer games and the basketball games were on. And he used that money that he earned through his job to go on a trip to Hawaii, and he paid his way, and he asked his family to share that trip with him, which was really exciting. He's my eldest, and he has used assistive technology all of his life. He was considered an individual that was nonverbal, which I laugh about today because we cannot shut him up and he swears like a trooper. But a lot of what we're going to hear our wonderful speaker today, Amanda, talk about is some of the routines and schedules that were a huge part of our life when Christian was young and still continue to be a big part of his life today. I wanted to let you know that Central Oregon Disability Support Network has 2 amazing programs that are available right now through the end of the year. And the first one will provide access to a wellness mini grant and an access mini grant. There's more information on our website. I really encourage you to take a look at this. We have limited spots available to provide these 2 mini grant opportunities. We are also providing wraparound services for COVID-19. So if you or somebody that you know is diagnosed with COVID-19 or is in quarantine or isolation, we would love to reach out and support you through that 14 days of isolation or quarantine. So my poll isn't still working, so I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind putting in the chat real quick. What brings you here? Are you a parent, a professional that is a community partner or an education system partner? And I would also ask that you put in the chat the age range of your child or children, or the child or children that you support in your professional role. Today, I'm so excited to introduce Amanda Wallace. She is a speech and language pathologist with an expertise on assistive technology, and she's working out of the Central High Desert ESD. And she's going to join us and spend the next 50 minutes explaining what we can do to improve the strategies for success. So Amanda, I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right, thank you so much. Let me get my screen sharing up.
While you're doing that, let me let you know that we have an autism specialist in schools from birth through 21. We have parents and with a child age 13, 9 kids age 17 to 48. Wow. And they're a community partner and a family member. Kudos to you. That's a lot of kids. I have 3 and that was plenty. Speech language pathologists from EIECSE and K through 12, birth through 21. Parent of a 17 and 10-year-old, parent of a 5 and a 6-year-old, and a parent of an 11-year-old daughter with Down syndrome. Welcome, Callie. She's one of our program coordinators from Central Oregon. Another program coordinator from Klamath with CODSN is Yesenia, and she works with families 0 to 21. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I love hearing that there are so many different people out there coming to this workshop with me. That's so exciting. Just checking in, you guys can see my screen and see the captions okay?
Can you chat a plus sign in the chat box if you can, a minus sign if you can't? Amanda, real quick,
Yeah.
I just wanted to go over the housekeeping. Sorry, I missed that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so we have everyone muted. Please use the chat box for your questions. And if you have specific questions to CODSM, put them in privately and we can answer them if it's technical issues. Please turn off your cameras. We don't want to record anything that's in the background that you might not be aware of happening behind you. We are recording this training and it does record what is put in the chat box just for your information. And we will be making it available on our website later this week for people to refer back to, along with the handouts that Amanda will be sharing. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you, Jenny. So welcome and thank you for joining this workshop. I am so happy to be collaborating with CODSN and sharing information on this topic today, particularly during this different and often stressful learning time for our students and families. I love getting the opportunity to work with families and to help them feel empowered when it comes to your child's learning. I really believe that you're the best educator your child will ever have. And so I hope you can leave today with at least one easy idea you can try out at home this week. So today we're going to cover the how and why behind using visual supports for students with unique learning needs. You will learn about what visual supports and strategies are and resources on how to create and easily implement them. And I'm hoping to give you a few tips on how to reduce frustration and improve independence throughout your child's day. So I want you to take a look at the pictures on this screen and ask yourself if you use any of these things during your week. Personally, I know I would be totally lost without my calendar on my phone, and my office is usually covered in sticky notes with to-do lists and reminders. We all use visual supports throughout our day to help us remember things, teach us how to complete tasks, give us steps, and create structure and routine. And so the overarching theme of this workshop is that the same visual supports we use every day as adults can easily be used with our children. The majority of scientific and educational researchers agree that about 75% of your learning is through your vision. So think about that. That's a lot of information that comes to us visually. The more visual the input is, the more likely it is to be recognized and recalled. So that's why it's really important for us as parents and educators to provide visuals to our students who experience learning difficulties. So what are visual supports? Visual supports are any tool that, excuse me, are presented visually and they support an individual as he or she moves throughout her day. So visual supports could include pictures, written words, objects within the environment, arrangement of the environment, schedules or maps or labels, organizational systems, timelines, scripts. The list can go on and on. They help provide effective directions and give information. So why do we want to use visual supports? I want to impress upon you that if you leave here remembering anything today, it's that visuals foster independence, and that is our main goal. When we start implementing these strategies early and with small steps, it can help set your child up for success in the future. In middle school, in high school, and out of school when they're adults. These are tools that we want our children using as adults, but we have to explicitly teach it while they're young. Visual supports can also help reduce anxiety and frustration and help reduce challenging behavior. So think of a time you had to drive someplace and it was new to you and you didn't have a map or a phone to direct you. I know that I have definitely been in that situation before, and I can immediately feel my body getting tense and start to feel anxious from being lost. But if I had my visual support, so like my Google Maps or an actual map, but you know, who uses those anymore, right? I would definitely not be feeling that way. One key element with using visual supports is that visual information is non-transient, meaning it's really permanent. So communication like speech or sign language or gestures are transient because they only remain for a short period of time. So they disappear as soon as the message is conveyed or spoken. And this can be difficult for students who have a hard time retaining information because they don't see it right in front of them. Visual supports also enable the student to receive the entire message. And like I said a second ago, because auditory information disappears so quickly, often students don't receive the entire message and they only get bits and pieces. But when it's presented visually, students will receive the entire message and hopefully be a little bit more successful. A couple more reasons to support visuals. They can help your child identify the beginning, intermediate, and end steps of a task. So I think of a good example. How many of you work out at some point in your day? So imagine you are at the gym and your trainer put you on a treadmill and just told you to start running with no indication for how long. I know that would be a little anxiety provoking and annoying to me, right? But if he set a timer and said, okay, you only need to run for 20 minutes, you know that there's an end point and that you won't be on the treadmill suffering forever. So visual supports are also very helpful with transitions because they provide information on what to expect. And they can also be helpful for learning the steps in a routine. Following multiple steps in a routine can be easier when your child can see the steps of it. So who benefits from using visual supports? And the big answer is everybody. Students who are verbal, pre-verbal, nonverbal, students with a range of skill levels, students who might have attention difficulties, and children who are exhibiting challenging behaviors. Students want to succeed and do the best that they can, but if they don't have concrete visuals in front of them, oftentimes it's harder for them to be successful in school and at home. So even if students appear to be understanding that the information that is given to them, they may not be understanding as much as we think they are or retaining that information. So by adding a visual support to walk them through the task, students are able to be more independent and not reliant on you. So here's a list of kind of the top, 5 or 6 visual supports that students and teachers use at school and at home, and ones that I see frequently in a school setting. But today we're just going to cover the first 2, so schedules and calendars and checklists and organizers. But in subsequent sessions, hopefully we can cover some of the others to help with self-management and visual behavior supports and choice boards. So I wanted to show you a quick video. I have a couple throughout this presentation, so you don't have to listen to me talking the whole time, about creating a visual schedule at home. So, children really thrive on structure and routine, and visual schedules can help support this. So let's hopefully watch this video, and I hope the sound works okay.
Hey everyone, today we're going to be learning about visual schedules. Visual schedules are a helpful tool from the Learn from Home environment because it helps structure your child's day and show them what activities they need to complete. It helps to provide predictability because it shows your child what to expect for the day. And it can also be a really helpful tool to show them how schoolwork activities can be incorporated into their typical day-to-day routines at home. A visual schedule can look like this, for example. It has various pictures that show the child what activities they need to do. In this example, the child would have breakfast, they'd brush their teeth, they'd do a bit of schoolwork on the Chromebook, then they would get some TV time as a reward for doing their Chromebook work activities, and then it's time for lunch. Your visual schedule could look like this with pictures, or if your child can read, you can simply have the words written out instead. So you might have that the child's coloring, they do some math work, they get some iPad time as a reward for doing their math, they get to play outside, and then they have snack. If you're using a visual schedule that's just on a piece of paper, it might be helpful to use pencil to write out these words so that you can easily erase them and write a new schedule when you need it. So as the child does all of these activities, you can then remove the pictures. I just have mine stuck on with tape so that you can reuse the schedule again and change it around as you need to. So when you're first starting to use a visual schedule, you're going to want to sit with your child and check in with them to show them moving from one activity to the next. So for example, after the student or after the child is done their breakfast, you can show them the schedule and make sure that they look at it to see what's coming next. You can even ask them, what's next? And then the child might say, oh, I need to brush my teeth. So making sure that the child is learning to check in with this schedule as they go about their day. Another thing to note when using visual schedules is that we want to incorporate the child as much as possible when we make the schedule each day. So every morning when you're looking at this schedule, I would encourage you to sit with your child, and you can provide some opportunities for choice in their schedule as well. So maybe you can ask them what schoolwork activity they want to do first. In this example, the child maybe has chosen math, and you can incorporate that into the schedule together and sit and write it out or put the pictures on. You can also incorporate, like I'd mentioned, some rewards into the schedule for doing their schoolwork. So like I said, that TV serves as a reward for doing their homework on the Chromebook. Another way to incorporate your child into making this schedule is to give them a couple choices in which reward they want. And that way you can sit and make it and put it on together. I hope that helped you learn how to use a visual schedule at home, and I hope that you'll give it a try. Thanks. Hey everyone, today.
All right. So that was a really nice explanation of why we want to use, or why it would be helpful to use visual schedules, for different tasks throughout your child's day. And I like that video too because it's pretty low tech. And when I say low tech, I mean it doesn't require any technology to help make that schedule. You could write it out, you could draw pictures. I've seen kids and parents cut out pictures of from magazines to create some of those pictures. You could use clip art on your computer, or you could take pictures on your camera and have them printed out. So you don't need anything super fancy to make those. And I like to give you guys ideas that could be quickly and easily made. So again, visual schedules, they establish routines and expectations. They provide support when transitioning, and they help foster independence. So as I show you some different examples on the next couple of slides of schedules, be thinking of a time in your child's day when a schedule could be useful. When making schedules, we want to find the type of symbols that are going to make sense for your child. So some kids need objects, some need photographs, some can read and use written materials. And symbol type is not a one size fits all scenario, and it's unique to your child. So keep in mind that, you know, these symbols might change from with time and may vary depending on your activity. And if you're not sure about what types of symbols might work for your kid, reach out to your teacher or your child's teacher or specialist working with your child. They are more than happy to help you figure this out. So I have another short video explaining more about picture and object schedules. So those are two different types of symbols that people can use to help make these visual schedules.
Hello and welcome to Kids Included Together's instructional video series. I'm your host, Rebecca Tolan. In this segment, KIT trainer Selena Rawenzon will share how to use picture and object schedules. A picture schedule is easy to create and can help support children with many types of disabilities. An object schedule is more concrete and conveys information using an actual object.
Schedules can provide a sense of control and independence for children. They can also help children organize and direct their own behavior. Many children need a visual representation of the activities for the day to help them see what is going to happen and when. We are going to demonstrate two different ways to create visual support for your daily schedule, using pictures and using objects. When creating a picture schedule, choose pictures that represent major activities and transitions during your program day. Consider using a flexible format that will allow you to adapt or change the picture schedule when the activities for the day are going to change. Velcro allows for schedule changes, as well as tape and other flexible materials. You can use actual photographs of your program environment. You can also use clip art or Google Images. It's a good idea to have a large format schedule posted as a reference for the group. You should also have a smaller schedule available for supporting individual children who may have a difficult time moving from one activity to another. Nikki, game time's almost over. What's next?
Playing pool?
That's right, we're gonna go play in the pool. Object schedules can be effective for showing the sequence of steps involved in an activity or to help a child structure their free choice time. Okay, everybody, we're gonna do our self-portraits. First, we're gonna color them, then we're gonna cut them out, and then third, we are going to glue them on the paper. So first, color, second, cut, and then third,
glue.
Yes, excellent. Some children need an adult to help them decide what they'll do with their free time. Objects can be a great way to help a child structure this time. Hey, Nikki, let's make a plan for free time. Do you want to color, do puzzles, or cards first?
Cards.
Okay, let's do cards first. Then do you want to do the puzzle or coloring?
Coloring.
Okay, and then puzzles to me last. So first we're going to do cards.
Cards.
Then we're going to do
Colors.
and then
Puzzle.
okay, we have
Okay, so on the next few slides, I want to show you a couple different examples of schedules so you can get ideas of different ways to create them. This picture is one of an object schedule. And notice it's not, it is an object schedule, but it also has pictures, clip art pictures in there as well. So this child or this student could use a variety of different symbols to help them navigate a part of their day. This is a very typical class schedule that you might see in an elementary school classroom. It indicates, 4 major things that this student needs to do during his time at school. This is another example of a picture schedule where the student can mark off when he has completed a task. So today I will go to circle time, and when circle time's all done, he could put a check mark, he could initial to work on some of those fine motor skills. These are a few other picture schedules. Notice the first one has about 7 pictures in a row, and the second one breaks it up into chunks. For some kids, it's too much information to see all the pictures at once lined up. It can be a little overwhelming. So it might be easier to digest if it's chunked up like the second picture. This is a schedule that a child who could read and tell time might be using. Notice there's no pictures in it. And this is something that maybe a middle schooler or a high schooler could use. And later on, we'll briefly talk about using technology, but you could schedule specific reminders in a phone or on your student's iPad to ding at specific times corresponding with their schedule to cue them to go on to the next item. And this is a really easy schedule that you could quickly jot down at home each day to help your student keep him on task. And again, this would be for a student who is able to read and doesn't need symbols. We're going to briefly talk about mini schedules, and a mini schedule can be used in addition to a daily schedule and can supplement. And it can be used to help your child understand shorter chunks of information or to help with a specific routine. So some students might use a first then board. And I wanted to show you another video on how to use one at home. Very, again, low tech and easy to do. Most of you have paper and pens and sticky notes at home. So let's watch this one. So that particular example is having the task first and then the reinforcing thing that they're working for the then. Some students can't handle, it's too overwhelming again to have many choices. So using a first then really breaks it down into manageable chunks for our students. So here are some additional examples of first thens. I can share some, I actually have some that I can share with you that you can print off at home that Jenny can post on the CODSN website. I like using things that students are motivated by. So this example, this student particularly likes SpongeBob. So we incorporated SpongeBob into his first then. So Mini schedules break down an activity or a routine into manageable steps, and they are a visual form of a task analysis. So some examples would be washing dishes, brushing teeth, getting dressed, cooking, or hand washing. This is an example of a student and the steps that he would need to complete to get to when he enters school. This is another example of a mini routine or schedule outlining the steps for taking a bath. And again, keep in mind, this is to help the student be more independent in daily living skills and having them not rely on us to tell them the steps or do it for them. So you can use mini schedules for other things like outings or going to the movies or to the zoo. So this is the steps needed to complete going to the zoo. So think of an activity that your child might be struggling with completing the steps with independently out and about in the community, and we can make a mini schedule for that. Mini schedules can also be helpful for working at a job. Again, thinking not only in elementary school, but beyond elementary school. Some students need specific steps written down to help them be successful at a job experience. This is a mini schedule that could be used for a student when they first arrive at school. Both of these are two different apps, which I can show you later on in the presentation or reference you to. One is called ChoiceWorks on the left, and it speaks for the student and lets them know what the activity is. You can set timers, and it has a library of images, and you can put it on an iOS device, so a phone, or an Android device. And then the other one is a visual planner app as well. Also can be put on different types of phones and mobile devices. And those are both listed in the tech resources page, which you will have access to. So I also wanted to briefly touch on calendars, because they are another useful tool that, again, we use daily. And so it's important to be teaching our students that they too can use calendars for their benefits. It gives students information in a form that can be easily understood and can help communicate about daily, weekly, and monthly events. So these are some ideas about ways you can use calendars at home. So days that are school days or not school days, when field trips are coming, up, when someone, a grandparent or a friend is coming to visit, when certain appointments are, different lunch menus. I know a lot of my students like to know when pizza day is. And so showing them a calendar and helping them understand different time concepts and counting down the days until pizza day, or when to bring things to school or home. I once had a student who loved swimming, and that was her favorite part of the week. And so every day, multiple times a day, she would ask, swimming today, swimming today. And so we started implementing a calendar and directed her to it every time she asked. And, by the end result was that she started telling us, 3 days still swimming and 2 days still swimming, etc. It really improved her independence as well as helped teach her those time concepts. This is an easy example of a calendar, kind of outlining when specific activities might be happening. You can also make a calendar using just visuals. So this is one that just outlines when you're going to school and when it's a home day. Seeing this can eliminate a lot of anxiety for students, or and help help them understand different time concepts, as well as help them understand that you don't go to school every single day and that there are some days you get to be home. Here's another calendar that can be used for specific tasks. And it could be a helpful reminder for a student who is capable of academic work, but often needs some prompting to get started. So they might reference their calendar and notice that on the 17th is when I need to start practicing my vocab or do my vocab homework. I wanted to touch briefly on checklists and organizers. I know that I am a huge fan of checklists because it helps me stay focused and remember the things I need to complete. And so again, what works for you and I also works for our children with differing learning needs. Checklists and organizers can be really helpful for students who have a difficult time with executive functioning skills like organization, staying on task, following directions, planning, and self-monitoring. This slide depicts a really simple organizational tool that can be used in any environment. You can use it for chores, steps for getting ready in the morning, or for school tasks. And then at the bottom, I like how it has, when I'm done with this, I can, and it gives your child some incentive and choice. So we could put a motivating activity down there at the bottom. This is another visual checklist for a child, which clearly outlines the steps for math using words and using visual supports, symbols. So instead of the teacher giving verbal directions, the child can look down at the checklist and refer to it and know exactly what to do. We're always aiming for less verbal directions and more visual. This is a shopping list. You know, I really love encouraging families to make visual grocery lists together, and they can do that by writing out items, cutting out grocery ad pictures, drawing pictures on sticky notes, and sticking it on the shopping list. And then you and your child can go shopping together, and he can be in charge of the list and help find the items. It's a way of organizing ideas and thoughts. And even a graphic organizer for writing is a type of visual support. This can really help your child organize their ideas and thoughts. One last example, it's another type of visual support or a graphic organizer designed to help your child organize thoughts and ideas on how to make a play date. So using technology can be an easy way to help build routine and structure. And I made a technology visual supports research document or resources doc that I shared and that you'll have access to. And so I'm gonna pull that up. And so I just listed out the tool name, the platform that you can use it on, the price. Some of it's free all the way up to maybe $15 or so, and then how-tos and links on how to implement and get these on the App Store or Google Play or wherever. So a couple to highlight. Your phone or mobile device has a lot of built-in features that you can use. So you could set an alarm on your device using your clock app. You could use a timer on there as well to help indicate duration for your student. In Google Calendar, you can add reminders and alerts. I have a student right now who is very He is able to stay very on task by having alerts built into his phone. And so for reading time, we have an alert set up. So at 11 o'clock, he starts his reading, and as soon as 11:15 hits, his alarm goes off and he knows I can stop reading now, and it's working beautifully for him at home. He's a middle school student. There are some Awesome Note is a great app that you can make to-do lists and make calendars. And then these were some of the visual schedule apps that I mentioned. One of them, ChoiceWorks and ChoiceWorks calendars, are ones that we use frequently in the schools and that are really easy to program and very parent friendly. They do cost a little bit, but they are super useful and your child might already be using it. So it's definitely would be beneficial to reach out to your school staff to see and ask, what is my child using for visual support, so you can replicate some of those tools at home. Visual Planner app was also the one I referenced in my presentation earlier. So like I said, feel free to look at these on your own time. You can follow the links, and I'd be more than happy to share more information about these specific apps. But again, I would definitely try reaching out to, if you are interested in some of these apps, reaching out to the school staff and finding out what's already being used and being successful with your student at school. So I like this slide too, because we want to think about how we can set up the environment to incorporate visuals. So be thinking of how you can arrange your home or part of your child's environment to include more visual supports. I'd recommend starting small with one room, like the bathroom, or one activity like brushing teeth, or one part of the day like getting home from school. So, you know, in one of these pictures, it has the steps for hand washing. So even starting small with one little mini schedule or one little routine is a great beginning to using visual schedules. I wanted to touch a little bit on timers because, you know, as adults, we use timers and alerts to help us know when to begin and end activities and to indicate duration, and to help remind us to do things. So timers can be used for the very same reasons with your children. You don't have to go out and buy anything fancy. You know, you can use a kitchen timer. Your phones have built-in timers, or there are free timer apps. So a few tips that I have found to be successful and that I know teachers use as well is to use the visual support proactively. Don't wait until your child is tantruming or getting super frustrated or anxious to write out a schedule or to help or to implement a visual support for them. And a schedule that is used proactively may help prevent the meltdown from happening in the first place. It's best to teach these things when your child is calm and in a good learning space rather than when they're upset or frustrated. Also, use the visual supports consistently to help your child learn how to use the tool quicker and become more independent. And it's okay if you forget to use it occasionally. You know, we're all learning this together, and your child is learning it with you. So give yourself some grace, but maybe pick one time of the day that you really want to focus on. Use the visual support in a variety of ways. So, you know, your child may be frustrated if this schedule or visual support is always used to signal a non-preferred activity at the end of the day, like going to bed. So try using your schedule or your support to lead your child to preferred activities. So a fun game at the end of homework or ice cream after washing the dishes. Break the activity into manageable and simple steps. And then I mentioned this before, but please reach out to your school staff to help you create visual supports and find out what's working for them at school. We are here for you and we're all on the same team and we want to help support you at home. I kind of mentioned this before, but all visual strategies must be taught during the calm so that they are effective during the storm. So really teaching this to your child when they're calm and in a ready to learn state. Why do we do this again? Just to reiterate, it's to help our students be independent as adults. We really want to help them reduce some of our adult guidance and help them be successful across settings and with different people throughout their life. So I really hope that this helped you and gave you a little bit of insight into what we at school are using and things that you can easily implement at home to help your student be successful. So I wanted to open it up to see if you had any questions or thoughts. I am happy to answer anything.
I just want to say, Amanda, that was awesome information and very, very helpful. As I said earlier, when I was getting ready to introduce you, that we used a lot of visual supports for Christian from the time he was little in early intervention. And even today we use supports. Mm-hmm. He has his iPhone that he lives by. In fact, if we're on the calendar and we haven't responded to whatever we're supposed to be doing with him on the calendar at that time, he's the first one to text us and say, "Where are you?" So getting some great chat saying, "Thank you, this was awesome. This is very helpful. Wish I'd had this 20 years ago." And I think one of the things that I loved about some of the content was that you don't have to have all these sophisticated tools. Mm-hmm. You can just use the sticky notepad. Mm-hmm. So we have Patrice saying, "My son has tracking problems with his eyes. Could a visual schedule still be successful?"
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think there are lots, when going back to the slide that talked about different levels of representation. So using pictures, using objects, we can pair symbols with sound too. So I think really working with whoever is working with your son at school and finding out a little bit more information about what's being successful at school and what types of symbols he's using would be the first step. But yes, visual schedules are beneficial for students of all abilities, regardless of vision impairments or hearing impairments or cognitive abilities. So I'm gonna try to find your name again. Was it Patrice?
Yes, Patrice.
So Patrice, I would definitely reach out if your student is in school, reach out to the school and find out what they are using, what types of schedules they're using, and they can help provide you with more information about ways to start implementing that at home. But yes, it would be. Oh, we're homeschooled. Okay. Gotcha. Well, I also wanted to mention my email is listed on the beginning of this slide. So Patrice, if you wanted to, you're more than welcome to reach out to me and we can brainstorm ideas about ways to start using visual supports with your child at home.
We have somebody else who asked, do you have suggestions to keep kids motivated? Then start out well, and they start out well, become mature, and then it becomes a fight to use the schedule, the visual schedule.
Yeah, definitely. I think in one of those videos, it talked about adding reinforcing things in there. So for example, okay, first you do math, then you do reading, and then you get tablet time. So making those reinforcing items quicker than rather than having them work for, you know, an hour at a time and then get a reinforcer. So giving them frequent and quick reinforcers to help them stay on task is one strategy. I think in future webinars or future workshops, we are going to touch on how to use visual supports to keep kids motivated and on task with some of those things and behavior modifications. I believe that's what we were talking about, Jenny.
Yes, I think so. So, anybody else have any more questions?
And again, feel free to reach out to me and send me an email. I might be the person who, if you're in the school, in, you know, the Central Oregon schools, I might be working with your kid, or there might be another assistive technology specialist who could help you and who might be working with your child already. So please reach out. I love getting to work with families, and hopefully we can connect.
Awesome. I did want to add that we did call this a series. We're hoping that we're going to provide 2 more additional trainings. We have a pretty much jam-packed training schedule that's nothing to do with strategies for technology right now through the end of the year. So check out our website for the other trainings, and we will probably have one of these before the end of the year, and then maybe one in the early part of next year. If that works in Amanda's schedule. I think this was invaluable information for families and for professionals, and look forward to working with you again, Amanda. Really appreciate you being here today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
So if there's no other questions, I guess we get an early mark, which is always fun when you're on Zoom. So goodbye, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. We look forward to connecting again. And as I said before, CODSN's website will have a recording of this.